You've probably heard that YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world, only behind the one and only Google. In fact, when you search something like how to launch a YouTube channel, which I did about 10 minutes ago in Google, you'll see a featured snippet that Google provides, and then you'll see a video section from YouTube about how to create a YouTube channel, all being videos. And if you're doing inbound marketing, video must be part of your strategy. But does that always mean that you need a YouTube channel to do inbound marketing? In this episode of Solving Inbound, we're going to answer the question, does my business need a YouTube channel? Let's do it. Welcome back to another episode of Solving Inbound. My name is Connor Delaney, joined by John Becker. And today we're answering the question, does my business need a YouTube channel? And I'm going to keep it really simple for you as we get started. Yes, you do need a YouTube channel, but there's a couple reasons why. But before we get into those reasons why, I first want to highlight a couple of assumptions that need to be made about having video as something in general at your business and why a YouTube channel can't exist without these assumptions being met. And then John, I want a little color commentary on it too. So the first assumption is that you have to be bought in on actually creating video. Obviously, YouTube is a video medium. It doesn't really make sense if your company doesn't like video, isn't into creating video, that having a YouTube channel and just letting it sit dormant isn't going to do anything for you right now.
Totally agree, right? Just like with anything with inbound marketing, it is a commitment game. It is a long game that you are playing, and it's easy to kind of think, well, I'm just going to make one or two videos and this is going to be great. But no, it's about committing to a culture of video within your organization, setting in place the scaffolding that allows for that to happen, the staff members, the equipment, et cetera, and then holding people accountable to that kind of production.
Right. And, the second part to the production piece of it is actually having a video production process. And that assumption has to be made because if you can't consistently create video content, you don't have a repeatable process for creating video content, it very quickly, and we've learned this firsthand, we've seen other businesses across the world do this, you start off really hot. You say, I'm ready to go and create content. You create your first 3 or 4 videos and you're like, that was awesome. And you're like, it's going to take off. Our YouTube channel is going to be super successful. And then you stop making video content because it really was that kind of the honeymoon phase, right? Where you just create content early. And then because there's nothing to hold you accountable for that, it doesn't continue from there.
It's easy to be overwhelmed by YouTube as a platform, just like Google. And you mentioned at the beginning that YouTube is the second largest search engine. It's, you can kind of consider it a search engine. You can kind of consider it in some ways a social media platform.
It makes for a great intro, though.
It does. Obviously, it's owned by Google. I think we all know that. But statistically, 500 hours of content are uploaded to YouTube every minute. Like, think about that. 500 hours of content are uploaded to YouTube every minute. It's easy to feel like you are completely, in over your head in this gigantic pool that is hard to even comprehend how big it is. And you're not making the noise that you want to, or something like that. And it's the same thing with the internet. I mean, how many internet pages are published each day? Yet still, we advise our companies, our clients, to publish at a steady cadence of 2 to 3 articles per week and 1 to 2 videos per week. Just like with your content, it's going to take time for it to show up at the top of search results. And the same thing is true with video content. It's not going to be, chances are you're probably not going to go viral and build this huge following. But if you are educating customers and you're doing it in an effective way, customers will find you. And that's what you're after. Just like with content, it might not be the viral sensation, but it might be really helpful in bringing people into your business, which is what you're after.
Right. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit of what success on a YouTube channel for your business might actually look like and a couple of the metrics that we recommend. But before we do that, we have one more assumption. And when it comes to that video production process, you need someone who will actually own your video production process. And if you don't have that yet, it can be really hard. And maybe you're the business owner, maybe you're the videographer at your business. It can be really hard if that's not part of your day-to-day responsibilities. YouTube, as we've talked about with content management and content creation, you brought up writing articles, John, like that is a full-time commitment. It's the same way with managing the video side of your business and managing the video side of your inbound marketing strategy. You don't just, it takes a lot of time to not only prep for a video, but also to create the video, to edit it, and then to actually publish it is all part of someone's responsibility in owning that process start to finish.
100%. If someone doesn't own it, it falls off the map.
So yes, you must have a video or a YouTube channel in order to do video successfully in your inbound marketing strategy. But there's some important pieces of actually launching a YouTube channel. So we'll transition to that part now of there's a few things that you need to keep in mind when you're going to create your YouTube channel. And the first one, and I think this will surprise a lot of people, is you do not want to name it after your company. For example, you don't want to name it the Solving Inbound YouTube channel. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But from what we've seen and the results we've seen, and there's plenty of examples of our clients who have done this, you want to set it up where you are going to be a trusted voice, a somewhat non-biased voice, but you also want to be someone that has a sense of authority when you click on it. For example, I think of our metal roofing channel. We have a client who does metal roofing. Their YouTube channel is called the Metal Roofing Channel. And what they're going for there is they want to be seen as someone who is an expert in metal roofing. Yes, they're a company who sells metal roofing. They do all the services for that. But their goal is to be the must-have resource when it comes to metal roofing. That builds that consistency. That builds people coming back and trusting that you are an authoritative voice in that industry, and that when they have to go and get their metal roof, build a metal roof, repair it, whatever, they'll come to your YouTube channel first because they'll think of you and they'll know that you're going to come up if they search metal roofing YouTube.
It's a great reminder, Connor. I know you're going to touch on this later, but that we focus on content first. By naming it the Metal Roofing Channel, you're talking about the roofing. You're talking about the customer's need, the solution that you're providing for the customer, not your business, not your revenue metrics or anything that's self-serving. That's corollary. That's secondary. First and foremost should be like, who are you trying to help? Who are you trying to teach? Who are you trying to connect with? And if you kind of put them at the center of what you're doing, then yes, obviously it's not about your company. It's not your company's channel. It's your company's. It's a conduit for your company to teach customers how you can help them.
Right. And it's a reminder, for everybody. Like if you go and you're going to go record a video, like a about us video, every once in a while you want to create an about us video. It makes you feel good, but the about us video probably doesn't live on your YouTube channel. It probably lives somewhere else on your website. But for your YouTube channel, it's very focused. And again, we recommend it's very focused on what your customer is looking for. And when John mentions focusing on content first, not only does that mean that you need to be creating the right content, you also don't need to be creating the most polished video content. You don't need it to be expertly produced. You don't want it to be, I'd recommend not recording a video in your car as you're driving home or you're sitting in the passenger seat and you're like, hey, I want to answer this question for you really quick. This isn't like a live Q&A on, I don't know, some other platform. You want it to still feel a bit polished, but it doesn't have to be this really overly produced piece of content for it to succeed on YouTube. What it really needs to be is the right content for your audience in the state or the area that they are now. And I say state, not in the physical idea of state, but the mental state that they're in, the purchasing decision that they're in. Make it for that person who needs to go watch that in the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And another important piece of a YouTube strategy, like building a YouTube presence for your brand is, and Connor, you alluded to this before, but is establishing a regular cadence of publication. It can be intimidating to feel like, oh, I'm going to start having to do this every week or every month or whatever it is. But search algorithms reward consistency. They like to see that a channel is active, that it is being regularly updated. And so committing to something, making it a part of just who you are and the DNA of your business makes it part of your culture, and it just becomes something you do. So that establishing that regular cadence and producing content at a steady clip is critical.
And I think that transitions well into the metrics that we're looking at, because as you mentioned earlier, John, the goal typically is not to go viral. You're probably not, for most of our businesses, and I make this assumption in the nicest way, but most of our businesses aren't super flashy and exciting to go watch on YouTube. You're not seeing you're probably not doing some mega giveaway or doing some crazy, I don't know. I'm not going to make up a business because that'd probably be a waste of time. But you're not looking for that one video that's going to get 10 million views and then your company's going to explode. You want to focus on some other metrics. And I guess the first one that I think can be really important is watch time. Like, is your audience actually watching the video you created? If you make a 3-minute video, which is very short from a YouTube perspective, YouTube likes videos that tend to be in like the 8 to 10-minute range, if not longer than that. But if you create, let's say, a 3-minute video and they watch the first 30 seconds and they're not getting past the 30-second mark, your video is not successful. You want them watching a significant chunk of your video, especially if you think about the click through, like them taking an action from your video. You typically don't have that in the first 30 seconds. You typically have that in the last 30 seconds. You want someone to take action, do the next thing, whether that's to contact you, to go download an ebook, to whatever you may need to do, visit your website. They need to be able to get to that point where they can take the action, not just get the value and leave, or not see the value and leave at the same time. And watch time is a huge piece of that.
Yeah, which I think allows you to draw conclusions from your audience. And that's the beauty of YouTube and really kind of anything in digital marketing. You're able to get so much data that shows you how successful your content is with an actual audience. So it's not just, theoretical. So if you have, as Connor, you're saying, you make a 3-minute video and people are only watching 30 seconds, they're not seeing the value. So maybe your video needs to be shorter, or maybe it needs to be better. Maybe the topic that you're writing about or producing about is not resonating with the audience that you're after. So there are lots of data points that you can use to kind of dig into that. But I love that we put watch time first, because that is a really clear one. It's just like, dwell time on an article, or bounce rate, like things that are going to show you, yes, people came here, but they didn't stay. Watch time shows that people clicked on your video. But again, if they only watch 30 seconds out of a 3-minute video, they're sending a pretty clear message that this wasn't for them, or it wasn't what they thought it would be, or it was just kind of too slow, too long, too boring, to whatever it is. And so watch time is a good one to just kind of give you an idea of how you're interacting with that audience.
Right. And the next metric that comes to mind really plays off of that, and I mentioned it a little bit earlier, is that click-through rate. Is your audience taking the next step once they watch your video? Are they actually engaging with the additional resources that you've left in the description or in the information pop out that you can create within YouTube? Are they actually engaging with that next stage? And to that point, are they getting enough value out of it where they say, I'm ready to go do that? Because sometimes they're not going to do that. And certain videos that you create might not have that as the next step. Certain videos might say, this is purely educational, and by the end of this video, you're going to have the answer to your question. But other ones are probably going to be, especially ones about, let's say, pricing or about implementation of a certain product or service. They're probably going to have a go get in touch with us, go download something. If they're not downloading that, they're also not seeing the next step value. And sometimes they're not ready on their journey and they'll come back. But if they're watching that video, it probably means that they've qualified themselves to be in that situation. But if they're not clicking on it, I'm guessing, John, you're probably going to say the same thing I'm going to say, that it might not be the right call to action either. If they're not clicking on it, they might not be relating to where they are right now.
Yeah, 100%. And the thing that I'll say in connection to that, Connor, is we went back before you were talking about the metal roofing example. Anyone who watches YouTube knows that when you get to the end of a video, a lot of times you'll hear someone say, click subscribe, so you don't miss any content. Chances are that person who might buy a metal roof from you is not going to subscribe to your metal roofing channel to be like a subscribed viewer forever. They want to probably pick around and watch some videos, get to know you, get to know your company, learn about the purchase that they might be making. They're likely not metal roof junkies and enthusiasts who are going to
You don't like to just nerd out about a metal roof, John?
So it's easy to think that subscribers is a really important metric. And I think it's not really that important. It's a nice to have, but it doesn't mean that your video is not accomplishing its task if you're not bringing in subscribers. Connor, you agree?
Yeah, I do. It doesn't equal, it's kind of one of those vanity metrics where it doesn't equal success for your business. Because at the end of the day, you want your YouTube channel to be a revenue driver. You want them to be bringing qualified leads to your website. You want them to want to engage with you further. Subscribers can lead to that. It doesn't hurt for you to have a nice amount of subscribers, but it also doesn't mean that your YouTube isn't valuable if you have 30 or 50 or 200 subscribers. Very few companies have 1 million subscribers on their channel. It's just not expected. And if you're focused on subscribers and you're not focused on the other metrics we talked about, then your YouTube channel is probably not going to get the results you want. They might get increased viewership, but a lot of subscribers become those dormant subscribers. They're not watching every video you put out, and you shouldn't expect that. And if you are, you're not listening to this episode with the right intentions in mind. Instead, they need to be focused on those other metrics. And if you get focused on like views, you've talked about sales enablement content and bottom of the funnel content. If you're focused on only views and it's not really driving revenue for your business, you're not really bringing home the dough. You're not finishing the job, and it's not going to get you the results you want, especially from a broader inbound marketing perspective either.
So I think what we want our audience to take away from all of this is that YouTube is a valuable platform to explore. I think for a lot of, especially when we talk about social media, sometimes there can be like a stampede where businesses think they need to be everywhere because, well, I need to have a TikTok for do you really? No, probably not. YouTube is not a social media platform, although there are social elements to it, but it is a place where people like to go to learn, and people learn things visually. They don't just want to read a blog, and YouTube is a way for you to reach and connect and teach your audience that transcends just the written text. And so for us, and for what we tell our clients, having a YouTube channel is a no-brainer, because it allows you to produce and share the videos that help your prospects become customers. Whether that's, we talk about the selling 7 videos, they could be, videos that talk about, the basics of a product. Not all selling 7 videos would live on YouTube, but videos that are going to help your prospects learn, help them move from being a prospect to being a lead, to being a customer. And it is worth the investment. As Connor was saying before, it's not about subscribers. If there's a brand that has a huge YouTube presence and millions of subscribers, they also have an incredibly big video team, most likely. And you're likely, if you're listening to this podcast, have a video team of 1 or 1/2 or something. So this is not about building that astronomical influencer style brand. This is about being helpful, being trustworthy, educating, and reaching your customers. And YouTube is a great place to do that.
And make sure you celebrate those wins too. You hit 100 subscribers, that's 100 more than you had when you started. And make sure that you celebrate that. And I know, as we're wrapping up, I want to make this really clear. I know how intimidating creating a YouTube channel can be. John, you mentioned it earlier. It can be a really intimidating process with that much video content going out. And I want to highlight a course that we have, and I'm going to leave it in the description. Alex Winter, who is our director of video production here at Impact, created a course. It's about 2 hours long on setting up and enhancing your business's YouTube channel. It's fantastic. It walks you through the most fundamental aspects of starting your YouTube channel. And once you've been doing it for 6 months or a year, how to continue to enhance your performance on that channel. So I'm going to leave that in the description. It will be the lone resource that we provide, but it is a really, really good one. It has a ton of great case studies and walkthrough videos. So but with that, this has been another episode of Solving Inbound. Today, we answered the question, does my business need a YouTube channel? And we answered, yes, it does. Yes, but with that, John, thank you so much for joining me. And thank you all for listening to this episode of Solving Inbound. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And until next time, we'll talk to you later.